welcome to Metal Titans, Guardians of Metal Entertainment Worldwide. I'm here with Matt of Exhumed. Thank you for doing this interview with us today.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Now you guys are near the end of the tour now. How has the whole tour been going?
It's good. It's an interesting tour. It's like way different than a normal tour. Like I was saying, today we had to be here at 9 a.m., which is like the most un-rock and roll time I could imagine. Unless you're going to sleep at that time. So I mean, like some of that stuff is a bit of a hassle, you know, like 10 bands and all their drum kits and all that crap. But it's cool to like get out in front of a lot of new kids and you know, hopefully at least they can make a decision about the band. They can either be like, oh yeah, I've always heard of them. Now I know they suck. I don't want to buy their records. Or like, oh okay, that was actually pretty cool. So you know.
Now for the tour so far, everything's been good? Like there hasn't been any like tours or bad things or anything? Like I haven't heard anything bad so far.
Well, I mean, you know, there's just been like a bunch of like for us like random shit. Like after Vegas, for example, our bass player had somehow wandered off and like ended up falling asleep on the roof. And so we couldn't find him, and we couldn't find him, and we couldn't find him. And first it was kind of funny after the first.
The hangover?
Right. And then after like 4 hours, I started getting really angry, and then like called the jail. Did you arrest anybody by this name? They're like, no. Okay. That's probably good news. Yeah. Anyway, so he finally showed up at like 7:45 in the morning, so we were able to actually leave and get to the next show on time. And then when we played in Montreal, I have a no Jägermeister rule, and I totally broke that rule. And the next morning in Toronto, I actually ended up going in the EMT ambulance to get an IV of like saline so that I would stop throwing up before we played the show. You know, our sound guy got mono and he went home like a week into the tour. Then our tour manager had like a family thing come up, like nothing bad, but just like he had to be there kind of thing for his kid to go to school or whatever. So he left like 2.5 weeks into the tour. And then it's like one of the guys in Periphery had like a family thing, so they dropped off like a couple days ago. So it's just been like some weird stuff.
Usual tour chaos.
But I mean, if you got 10 bands, I mean that's a lot of X factors. So I think overall it's been you know
pretty good for how many people are on the tour.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get home pretty unscathed. We only got 3 more days, so knock on wood.
Excuse me. Almost choked.
It's very emotional stuff. I know you get choked up about this. I understand, yeah.
Now you just recently came back from the whole Death to All tour. How was that experience for you?
Oh, that was a trip. I mean, that was just one of those kind of things where like, I mean, I'd heard about it quite a while ago, and I had met Death's old manager a couple times briefly, and he booked a show for us in Canada. Anyway, so then I just said, hey, you know, like, if you guys are looking for a singer, you know, my range is fairly close to Chuck's, and at least the old stuff, I know all the words by heart. I mean, I could recite you the lyrics to Leprosy right now. And he's like, well, cool, you know, like, we're not sure what we're gonna do, and I didn't really think anything of it. I just was like, I'll just throw it out there. And anyway, so then they announced that Charles and Stefan were gonna do it, and I was like, those guys are great picks, and I know Charles really well, and he did a fucking awesome job. That guy just nailed it. But anyway, and then as it kept getting closer, I guess there was an issue with Stefan's visa, and they called me and they're like, oh, well, you know, you might only do like 2 shows and then he'll show up, or maybe he'll show up for the whole thing, but you do like an understudy thing, or maybe he won't show up at all. And I was just like, this is nuts. Like, this is so up in the air. Like, really? I have a week and then rehearsals start, but there was just no way I could say no, and it was awesome. I mean, like I said, I mean, I grew up on like the Scream Bloody Gore and like Leprosy stuff, and so to go in and like play like, you know, the stuff from Symbolic, it was really challenging, and it was a lot of work. It was really nerve-wracking. Like, I haven't been that nervous to play a show since I was like 15, you know? Yeah. But it was really exciting. I mean, it was super fun. And as soon as we played the first show, then everything was cool. And it was great because it was in San Francisco, and that's my hometown. And so I saw a bunch of old friends, and it was just like totally a super fun experience. And, you know, just getting to like play in a band that you looked up to for years is pretty...
Being a part of something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. And I mean, you could just look out at the kids at the show and how excited they were to like just have this event happening, you know, and that was really cool because I didn't want people to think that I was trying to like, you know, nobody's gonna take Chuck's place. I mean,
no, you do it in your own way.
Yeah, I mean, you just try to be respectful and you know that was another thing that was really weird about it. It was like very. I mean, Exhumed is sort of all about shitting all over everything and everybody, and like not taking ourselves or anything at all seriously. And this was like really different because it's somebody else's work, and you know what I mean. So it was a very totally different vibe, and it was also like a very kind of like celebratory thing. Like my friend Andrew from Tombs, he's like. I'm going to be paraphrasing him, but the way he put it is, it's like it's kind of like almost like a wake or a funeral or like a memorial. There we go, a memorial service for all the people that didn't actually know Chuck. Like now it's like
was able to go.
Right, or didn't get to see Death back in the day or whatever. So it was just really like, you know, it sounds corny, but it was like really like kind of special. You know?
Yeah, very sentimental.
Yeah, it was. It was cool.
Yeah. Now, being a part of the Death to All tour, do you feel that it helped Exhumed boost a little? Like, were you able to really boost the band a little while you were off stage?
I don't really know. I mean, like, certain people told me, oh, this is gonna blah, blah, blah for your career. And I was like, if you think that I'm playing death metal because I'm concerned about my career, you're a fucking idiot. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm sure it can't hurt unless, you know, unless someone thinks I did a shitty job or whatever. But, I mean, I was such not... You know, I try not to ever think of things like that. I mean, especially like I said, I mean, that wasn't about like promoting myself. That was about celebrating one of my favorite bands. And so, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, I introduced myself and told people who I was just in case like, oh, why isn't this the guy from Obscura? Or like, who is this guy? Like, what the fuck? But it wasn't like, hey, and here's my website. And Shane's like, no.
Yeah, it didn't have like a pile of merch.
No. I think that would be really tacky. So, I mean, I just didn't really think about it. And if it did, that's great. And if not, it doesn't really matter. I just did it because I wanted to. And,
like, if it came up, that's great. It's a little bit of extra boost. But
yeah, whatever.
Now, speaking back to the tour now, what's been your favorite part from Summer Slaughter so far? Like, do you have a favorite city? Do you have any?
Well, you know, like, night before last in Denver was actually some of the most fun I've had on this tour. You know, I mean, we're from the West Coast, and like all our best places to play are always San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. Denver's always really good, and when we played in LA at the beginning of the tour, it was so hectic because it was the first day and there was so much going on. I didn't really get to hang out with a lot of people or like see my friends, and just like I didn't know how the whole thing was gonna work, so you're kind of like trying to stay on the ball and not really like cut loose. And now 3 weeks into it in Denver, we're like, cool, we're off stage, we're going to, there's like a video game bar across the street, we're just, you know, seeing all the guys from Cephalic and Sherwood from Skinless, and just, you know, it was awesome. So I think the home stretch is perfect. I mean, we're really excited to end in a place where our biggest problem is A, early load-in, and B, we have too many people for the guest list. Like, that's my kind of problem, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, really the only thing that's been hard about it has just been the weather. And now that, you know, once we got out of like Florida and Georgia, it's
cooled down a bit.
Yeah, it's great.
No, that's good though. Well, thank you, Matt, for doing this interview for Metal Titans. Before we finish, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
I would just like to say, I guess, you know, like the band split up for like 5 years or whatever, and I didn't really ever like think about doing it again. And the fact that we've been able to like come out and do a new record, and we're on our like 5th US tour, and we've been to Europe like 4 times, is way more than I ever would have thought. So I would just say, like, thanks for wanting to see our band, and you know, we'll try not to let you down, and hopefully you'll continue wanting to see us, and we'll come out, we'll have a beer. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.